and welcome to Happy You Ask, the podcast where we explore a little thing called happiness, one awkward conversation at a time. And I am Erin Claire, your perpetually anxious host. I'm joined today by Skila Ramirez. She specializes in adapting yoga's ancient mind-body practices into our 21st century culture and lifestyle, complementing Western medicine and integrative health models. In addition to being recognized by the International Association of Yoga Therapists, her credentials and certifications include a variety of special studies in she has so many things on here that are hard to pronounce, and I swear I didn't stretch to get this. Exercise science, I'm ready. Neuroimmunology, psychoneuroimmunology.
Neuroimmunology.
Yes, I was like, oh, just sound it out, Erin. Sound it out. Neuroscience. What else we got? Kinesiology. That one's really hard for me.
Kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
Body stuff. Just
body stuff, along with the mind stuff, like psychological, physical, energetic practices of Eastern medicine. I did it. Her therapeutic approach is refined for each individual as she combines this traditional Eastern modalities for healing with neuroscience. Skila works with first responders for municipalities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, as well as in trauma centers, hospitals, and in major corporations. In addition to group classes and private sessions, Skila teaches and lectures internationally as a faculty member for YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide, which is a premier trauma-sensitive education provider to the United States Armed Forces. That's how I met Skila, as I took one of her trainings. In addition to being a yoga therapist and senior master trainer with YogaFit, Skila is the owner-operator of Sankalpa Wellness, a holistic lifestyle company that also makes an oil I've been addicted to for quite a long time now. It's called Instant Karma, and it's in my house actually every single day. I have an infuser every day. So Skila, welcome to Happy US. I am so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to see you. It's been way too long. It has been way too long since you and I were making malas and cutting up in an Airbnb and learning together.
Oh gosh, that was such an amazing time. Skila was my trainer in Sanskrit and ancient texts in my yoga teacher training. And that was a phenomenal week spent just immersed in all that. It was so cool. My favorite.
The first exposure to Kuan Yin.
Yes.
The goddess of compassion, grace, and mercy, which me being more Southern Texan, we lovingly nicknamed Juanita.
Juanita. I said, who is this? Did you look? And you said Juanita, and I said, Juanita. And now we call it Juanita, the beautiful goddess. And she's a goddess of mercy and compassion, so she doesn't care that we did that.
That's right.
So I always ask everybody the same first question. Skila, what is your definition of happiness?
Ooh, I'm going to say my definition of happiness is coming into a place and a space of radical acceptance.
I like that. What do you mean by that, radical acceptance?
Radical acceptance. It's where you ultimately, maybe you immerse yourself into the life experience in such a way where you no longer are trying to get better at things. You no longer are attempting to level up, and you no longer begin to view anything as good or bad, but rather there just is this immersion in the experience of life, in the flow of life, and you are more focused on this radical presence to be able to be in the life experience rather than to be critical of the life experience and say this is good or this is bad. Because ultimately, what is happiness? Happiness is not saying, look at this awful thing that happened to me and that makes me happy. It's usually going to be some sort of subjective opinion and belief system that we impose on an experience or on a thought or on a feeling, be it physical or emotional sensation. And we say, this is something I like or don't like. And it's really seldom that people say, I don't like this, that's why I'm happy. So it's this imposition of judgment and criticism on the life experience that can ultimately determine the subjective judgment of happiness. So when we say it is what it is, ultimately there is no pursuit of happiness. Happiness is fleeting. So for me, happiness is more so going to be relative to the embodiment of joy. It's a state of being and a state of consciousness. There is no subjectivity to be attached to it.
Damn,
How's
Skyla,
that? I don't
that was
know.
really freaking good. I was over here like,
How's that?
get you. That was
I'm gonna pull out a little
awesome,
deep shit Chopra today.
right? That was for real. I was like, yes, snap, snap, preach, preach. I say, you got it.
Yep.
That makes yes. I second, all in favor, say aye. Right? That's exactly what it should be. But that's, so much easier said than done. On one hand, I find it gets easier to be like this, it is what it is. The older I get, just because I'm really tired and I'm like, I've already done all that where I tried to prove myself and it's fine. I proved some things, but once you do that, what comes after? Right? And you're like, I can't keep doing that forever. I'm too tired. So I think, yes, radical acceptance becomes easier with time, but so many people struggle with it. And what can we do? Why do you think that is?
It's a practice. It's a practice. I think that all too often we expect to just wake up and be a certain way instead of just being, right? It just falling into or slipping into our skin, slipping into our humanness, and accepting that there are going to be moments where we're happy or unhappy. And so the practice of radical acceptance, which leads to contentment, which helps one to experience happiness more often, it is a practice. It's not something that you wake up with. It's a virtue of sorts. So I often think about when I had really young children. And I had children young. At 20, I had my son. At 22, I had my daughter, and I would tell my grandmother, who was a matriarch in so many ways in my family, and her name was Olive Sadler, and she was from Oklahoma,
Mm.
Norman, Oklahoma area. So I used to tell my grandmother, I keep praying for patience. I just feel like I have no patience with these children, and I feel like I'm failing as a mother. I'm aspiring to be this thing, right? Just like people aspire to be happy. I'm aspiring to be this, 5-star Yelp review mom. And I'm failing because I have no patience. And I keep praying to God, patience, patience, patience. Why am I not patient? Right? And my grandmother was like, "Oh, honey, that is just so cute. That's so cute. You really thought that when you prayed for patience, you would just wake up one day and be patient. When all of this life experience, it's lessons. That's what the Bible is, even. It's lessons. So I was raised in a heavy Christian home and a lot of Christian influences. And my grandmother says, "How cute." She goes, when you pray for patience, what's happening is you're praying for the development of your character. You're praying for a lesson. You're going to be praying for more experiences to test your patience.
Mm.
So that's when I stopped praying for patience. I was like, forget this.
I already got that covered. God, I
Okay.
got that lesson.
I got it. I got it. Be more specific. I just want to wake up and be patient. No, it really is about character development and growth. And really in the long run, what I realized with that lesson too, that in being able to practice patience, that taught my children in return how to practice patience, which ultimately leaves behind my legacy of wanting to be that mom for them, and wanting to be that person that says, not only am I now a patient person, but I learned how to practice patience because that was modeled for me, and I did not give up. So in that practice of contentment, and the pursuit of happiness, I do believe there's a lot of overlap of patience with that too.
$100%.
Time and again, you're going to come back to criticizing yourself, and being hard on yourself for not being happy. I know all too many people that say they should be happier, or they should be more grateful and look at what I have, or I'm not happy and how do I get happy? And people get really critical with themselves. And so time and again, patience, I believe, ultimately is going to be that window or that door that cracks open towards becoming more content and experiencing the embodiment of joy, which helps you to feel happy.
I love that story with your kids because that was something I struggled with too, that feeling that I should be a different parent than I was being.
Mhm.
Because especially in a small southern town, there can be a lot of pressure to be a certain type of parent and prioritize certain things over others. And I didn't. I didn't think some of the things that other mothers thought
Yeah.
were of the same value as I did. So ultimately, what helped me was a similar lesson. It was thinking, well, what would you want your children to do in your situation? What do you want them to be if they were in your shoes? And that was what guided the choices I would make. Like, what do I want to model for them? Not like what doesn't matter
Mhm.
what other mothers are doing. What do I want to model for my children? And then that helped get rid of that sort of feeling that I wasn't good enough. I was the being the mother that I was supposed to be. And that shift helped a lot. Like not what other people are trying to be, but what's mine to be. And so I
Yeah.
like that story though, which I took
Yeah.
off into my story, but whatever, Aaron, just fine. It's fine.
This is what we're here for. We're here for that, right? We're here for that organic flow. And I love that you said good enough because
Mm,
that feeds into a lot of people's sense of contentment or happiness too, right? Is either it's not good enough or it is good enough.
mhm.
Lower the bar. I think a lot of people would be happier if they just lowered the bar. Lower the bar a bit. It's good enough.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Especially in the West, in the US, where there's this feeling like we must keep accomplishing more and more and more, and there is never any good enough really for ourselves, which is just a fruitless venture because it's always going to
Yeah.
be that. It's never will be enough if we have that mindset. So, yeah, you're exactly right. Be good enough. Lower that bar a little bit. It's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Beware the trap of better.
yeah.
Better. It always has to be better, or it's not good enough, right? Not good enough means I need better. It needs to be better. And that is a fractal concept. I know some people go, what's a fractal concept? It means this is something that is expressed. You think it's only one part of your life, but trust me, it is revealing itself exponentially in the way you live your whole life. It
Mhm.
needs to get better. It needs to get better. And it's that cycle of I just can't be content. I get restless, right? We go from feeling grateful from good enough. We go from feeling grateful and gratitude to ungrateful real quick because um, we start to feel where things level off, where there's that ease, and you need another dopamine hit almost.
Mm.
Better, better, better. Not enough, not enough, not enough, right? Some people's cycle of addiction is that they can never just settle. They can never be content. They always need to be, they get content and then they need to come up. They need to come up and then they need to come down and they don't ever really feel content anymore. They interpret contentment as depression. So they need to keep coming up.
Why are you just talking right at me about these things I do all the time? Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I see it in other people as well. For everything from, I mean, if it's in that way within their career, it's usually that way in how they think about their appearance or, everything, their relationships, all of it. And
Yeah.
yes, that is a huge, awful trap to get in. And it's hard. It's so hard. And especially as a yoga teacher is really where I began to see it because when people come to a yoga class, as you well know, so many of them feel like then the goal is to get better at every pose until you can master another pose and one that's more challenging. And now your legs wrapped around your head, and eventually you will just levitate, and then you've achieved yoga, which is exactly like opposite of the point that you're trying to achieve in yoga, where there is no good enough. It's the practice. But it's so hard when people come in with that mindset of not good enough to gradually shift to it's actually not about that. It's actually not about the next pose.
Yeah.
It's actually not about advanced or something like that. It's
No.
not at all. So yeah, I hear you. I'm singing your praises. I'm following you on this story, on this journey, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think about that too in yoga, where I think about how it gets treated, the asana practice, the physical practice gets treated almost like sports, like NFL, right? It gets treated like sports or even like gymnastics or Cirque du Soleil, right? It's like, what are we doing this for? Who is the audience? And even if you're in your room and you say, oh, it's just for me, it's audience of one, you know, what's it for? What's the value system that we have developed or imposed upon ourselves so that we're able to reflect our worth? Is it that, oh, I do this pose and because I'm physically capable of doing this, that is my measure of success, or that is the reflection of my value, of my worth? Absolutely not, right? Um, Ultimately, um, can we just accept where we are? And there's this really beautiful, beautiful verse in yoga in book one of the Yoga Sutras. It's verse one, book one. Atta Yoga Anushasanam. And there's so many different translations of verses or threads from the sutras in the same way you would have translations of versions from a Bible. And again, I was raised heavy-handed Christian, but I am not a Christian. I practice concepts from Christianity, just like I practice concepts from Buddhism and Hinduism, um, but I pull a lot from that. So the sutras, much like verses in a Bible, Atha Yoga Anushasanam, can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. The first translation of that verse that I ever heard that stuck with me was, now the exposition of yoga begins. It's a very common translation. What I was exposed to more recently, though, is this: not only now the exposition of yoga begins, but yoga can only be experienced in the now.
Ooh.
Now is when you experience the journey. Now is when you have the experience. So, yoga, when we talk about radical acceptance and radical presence, that it happens right now. It's a decision. It happens right now. How can we do it? You just stop yourself. You interrupt the negative thoughts, you interrupt the negative feelings, and you say, now is the time. Now is the time to accept myself. Now is the time to value myself. Now is the time to love myself. Now is the time to be happy.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So as a yoga therapist, though, I bet there are a lot of people go to yoga therapy because they have some form of intense pain. Um, so for them, how can you help them get to that place where accepting now with this intense pain that can be happy?
First, I will open with what we resist will persist, right? And it is our aversion to something or our denial of something that will actually strengthen it. So, first of all, yes, it is saying, okay, I'm here with it. And it sucks. It sucks. And to say something sucks doesn't mean you're not happy, right?
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a misconception too, to say, oh, if I admit that this sucks, it makes me not a happy person. So then you have some people that will deny what they're feeling. They deny the pain. Yeah, I'm in it, but I'm going to deny it. I'm going to put on a happy face, right? Or, oh, because I feel this way, I must be this way because I admit that I am in pain, or I admit that I am hurting. It's going to make me weak, or it's going to change my identity in some way. The first thing I say is try to look at it a different way. Befriend it. Befriend it. And first and foremost, I like people to take a look at their pain in a different way. So instead of feeling everything, pause with it. And my first recommendation is give it a little more character.
Mm,
Give it its own character. So if you stop and you really identify the pain in your body, and if it is global, it's all over, it's not localized, pick a part in your body that is aching and close your eyes and try to become more objective to it so that you're not identifying so much with it. Now, if you're dissociated, we're still going to be a little more objective. But, first of all, give it a color, give it a shape, decide, how does the pain move? Get to know it, befriend it. In the same way that we become a home or a vessel for our emotions, for our thoughts, become the vessel for that physical sensation. Think of yourself as a vessel. You're carrying it. It's not carrying you. You're
Mm,
carrying that with you. So to accept it, it's it's like a pebble in your shoe. It's going to be there sometimes. And try to eradicate the idea of curing it.
mm,
Let go of that idea. Yoga therapy is about healing. So, in addressing pain, it's how do I come into a place of wholeness with this?
mm,
I
mhm,
carry it with me. I'm not trying to push it away. I'm not trying to minimize it, hide it. I'm not going to throw it out there either. It's part of me, it's formative to me. So accepting that first and foremost. And what is healing versus curing? It's a state of mind.
mm,
The more I say with pain, I don't want this, I don't want this, the more I'm looking for a cure sometimes. The more I say I don't want, I don't want, I don't want, the more it is self-prophesizing and it is saying to the universe and to your psychoneuroimmunology, it says, I do not have, I do not have, I do not have. I don't want this pain means I do not have this peace.
mm, mm, mhm. Yeah. So it becomes like a lack, and then it almost makes it heightens all of it, heightens everything.
Truly reinforces it. I don't want it. I don't want it. The aversion to it, when I don't want the pain, it's actually giving, it's saying, I don't have peace.
Mm,
So what do
mm,
you really want? What do
mm,
you really want? You can't say, I want peace, because the more you say, I want that, you're saying, I don't have that either. I don't have peace. I don't have it. It's really interesting, the paradox with the way that we talk to ourselves in recognition of the life experience, the narrative, the language that is created around the way that we are witnessing or experiencing or embodying physical sensations such as pain or emotions or really anything in the life experience.
During the your bio, I read about how you work with first responders and how YogaFit is really specializes working with the armed forces. And I know that there are a number of people who don't know about this realm of yoga therapy and yoga for this type of use. So can you talk a little bit about this trauma sensitive yoga, informed yoga?
Sure, sure. So, trauma sensitive yoga, ultimately, we know based on the checklist and the markers of what we could anticipate as a traumatic experience, right? So we have extensive list or what are considered traumatic experiences. First of all, what is an experience that is going to be life-threatening in some way, and it could be life-threatening in the way of it directly happened to you, or it can be a secondhand trauma, right? So, example of a secondhand trauma. I've never had cancer. My mother had cancer, died of cancer. That was traumatic for me. Losing a parent on its own can be traumatic for you. So, getting a divorce, having some sort of an accident, right? There are so many different things, sexual abuse, physical abuse. The list is extensive as to what could be considered a traumatic experience for someone. Ultimately, it's life-threatening. Now, when we look at those traumatic experiences, we do know that 9 out of 10 individuals have had at least one adverse childhood experience, which has the potential to be a traumatic experience before the age of 18. So basically, we have the bulk of our society is walking around with some symptoms, whether they are psychological, emotional, or physical, that can go back to a traumatic experience, something that happened usually in early childhood. But again, 9 in 10 people had that experience in early childhood. It's only 10% that maybe haven't had those experiences until later. I would just say being human can be traumatic on its own. Let's just
Right?
take it there.
Real.
Everyone has probably had a traumatic experience by now. Okay. unless you're heavily medicated. I mean, heavily meditated, then maybe you're not aware of it. But so in this practice of yoga therapy, what we're doing is we're taking these traditional modalities of healing, these approaches to working with the trinity of the mind, body, and spirit, and we are integrating it and including the most current information out there from neuroscience, from the fields of psychology and somatics. And we're saying, okay, now we know what trauma is. And now we're theorizing also how trauma is stored in the body, how it affects us on these various levels of consciousness, and how can yoga be integrated into that. So, how do we take these Eastern concepts for healing and integrate it into a Western medical model? Now, we can anticipate with certain populations, like let's say with the military, we know that they are familiar with certain belief systems. We know that they are familiar with a certain type of structure. We know that they are given, different types of information before they go into certain situations. So, in yoga therapy, we like to model that format, working with military personnel, where we will step into an environment like that and say, okay, in this yoga class, before we get started, let me tell you what's behind that door.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, behind those windows, there's a parking lot. Let me tell you that the building that we're in, let's say we're in a hospital, there will be some announcements coming through the speakers during class. Also, this door over here adjoins to another classroom, so you might hear people talking or chattering. And oh, by the way, there is a projection screen that has a really squeaky motor. So we give more information as yoga therapists in that type of a class, in a trauma sensitive class, than what you would in a traditional class. And we like to refer to this as like an orientation, right? We want you to know what to expect from the environment before we get started. That is one marker that makes this style of yoga different from other styles of yoga when it's trauma sensitive. Now, in addition to that, we're also keeping the room well lit. In some styles of yoga, the room goes pitch black, right? In this style of yoga, we are making sure that, first of all, the teacher is always visible and there is a clear path to exit for every class.
Mhm.
Very important. And that is noted as well. This style of yoga is also sensitive in language, language of inclusivity. We know that We know one of the symptoms of trauma, one of the main symptoms of trauma is addiction. What is the opposite of addiction?
What the hell is? I don't know. I've never thought.
Not sobriety. What surprises people is the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection.
Hmm.
Addiction means isolation. So we address that primary symptom in trauma sensitive yoga as yoga therapist by using as much inclusive language as possible, reminding individuals that we are in it together. We are breathing. We are noticing our experience, our time together. And, in addition to that, there are other concepts around language to be explored that are specific to yoga therapy and working in trauma sensitive environments. But those are really the main three.
Yeah, and so it's really about creating a clear sense of safety for the people that they will be safe during
Correct.
that class, and there's
Safety and
there's no
security.
threats.
No surprises. Not only no threats, but no surprises.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. And of course, hopefully every class feels safe, every yoga class. That's not always the case. There's different styles and different traditions, and if you're not expecting that, it can feel a little unsafe if you're not familiar with that type of practice that is a norm in one place. So setting up those, this is what to expect in the beginning is really helpful for the students. Yeah, no matter the class, I
yeah,
think it's always helpful.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I heard somewhere it's almost like when you do childbirth preparation classes. We are practicing in the most ideal conditions, right? Practice before you're in labor. Create the most ideal environment, practice with as few obstacles as possible, and also let people know what to anticipate. By the way, should you encounter this, this is how we could handle it. So it's about equipping people with the tools, the skills, and the knowledge, to also know how to confront and work through those obstacles should they get triggered. The big word is triggered in trauma sensitive environments.
Though I'm sorry, birth is going to be surprising. No matter that was surprising as hell. No matter how much I read, I was like, "What is? Woo! It's
Yeah,
a human being."
yeah, yeah. And I would
That's
say
crazy.
triggers are surprising as well. So just along those same lines, I want to go ahead and um, address this right here, this thought that if you get triggered, it's not a good session, or if you get triggered, it's not a good yoga class, right? In working with trauma, we don't know what those tipping points are until we tip over that point, right? We don't know what that edge is until we go over it. So again, if we loop it back into happiness and loop it back into contentment, loop it back into radical acceptance. If you're working in a trauma sensitive environment as a teacher or as a therapist, I will say people are probably going to get triggered. And if you are in that environment, you're seeking that holistic approach, or you're in an environment where it's a trauma sensitive environment, and you go in with the expectation that you'll never be triggered, then you may be disappointed and unhappy with your spirit experience, because we are avoiding as many triggers as possible. We are creating the most ideal conditions so that we're able to adopt tools, skills, and knowledge to regulate the nervous system. But again, it is a practice, just like practicing patience. So if we get triggered, we're in that environment already. You are in the perfect place to learn how to move through those obstacles, with a formally trained trauma therapist or yoga therapist.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. And really one of the key goals of yoga itself is to know yourself better. And
Yeah.
so it's a feedback then when, at least for me, when I am triggered in some sort of class to say, why, to reflect, why was that? And then how do I sit with that? What does that tell me about myself and what I want to look at more closely?
Yeah, absolutely. Swadhyaya.
Swadhyaya,
Swadhyaya.
my favorite. Swadhyaya. Yeah. Beautiful.
Swadhyaya.
Swadhyaya. Yeah.
Self-study, self-study,
Self-study.
self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
especially
when I
my
love
eight
to when
limbs.
oh, I love it. I love it. I really like that when people go, they go, I don't get triggered. I've never been triggered and I don't
Ah!
want the trigger. And I'm like, have you ever lost your shift? Anyone who's ever lost their shift? Yeah, you've been triggered. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I lose my shift a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have a couple more questions. We're already getting towards the end, if you can believe that. I want to know what are describe one a moment or two moments when you've really felt happy.
Ah, man, there's so many. So many. So many. I oh my gosh, I think about the moment that I found out I was pregnant. I
Mm.
remember that. If I go back to that, that moment of knowing that, well, I was working towards that, I'll just say. It wasn't that was the intention. So that moment of the realization of, oh, I'm gonna have this baby and going to have this life and this mom and this, this vision that I had for my life was coming into fruition. That just was ecstatic for me. I remember being happy the time that my I sat with my dad looking at the moon. And
Mm.
I had a fairly rough upbringing with my father. He was a Vietnam veteran with PTSD, and just a little backstory on that. Grew up with a lot of physical abuse and emotional abuse and drug abuse in the home with him, and but he had a near-death experience, and he started to meditate. He started to
Mm.
meditate and he had to do breathing exercises with COPD. So the moment I sat with my dad, we were we were down in Corpus Christi, right there on the Intercoastal Canal next to um, the bait stand, Billings bait stand. And I remember looking at the moon with my dad and saying to him, God, Dad, this is so great. This is so peaceful. This is so beautiful. And he said to me, he said, and I am so happy. He goes,
Aw.
but I never would have thought of all the experiences I've had in my life, nothing makes me happier than being to stand here with you today
Aw.
and to have this moment with you. And I remember like, wow, your happiness is my happiness. It's contagious. And of all the moments for me in my life that are pivotal in happiness, I would say it's the understanding that happiness is contagious,
Yeah.
right? It's that, what is that saying? It's Marianne Williamson, Return to Love. As we allow our light to shine, that light liberates others. Something like that. I don't mean to chop it up too bad. Sorry, Marianne. But um, that's one of the happiest moments of my life is being able to experience joy simply because I was basking in the radiance of someone else's joy. And
Oh,
that's enough to be happy.
that's beautiful. I have one final question for you. I need you to come up with a song to put on the Happy You Ass playlist. I know this is the hardest. This one, people are like, why would you ever ask me that, Erin? That's an evil question. I know
Does
it's so hard.
everyone know? I should have watched a couple podcast episodes till the end to know that. Does everyone get this?
Yeah, everyone does. But I don't ask it to the end, so like half of them don't know, and they look at me like, "Oh my God, why?" And so that makes it great though, because does it matter which song you choose? No, no, it
Oh,
doesn't.
I don't have to write the song.
No, a song like this, I put it on the Spotify playlist.
Oh, just pick up song. Oh, that's not a problem. I thought you meant I was going to have to actually like compose something. I don't
Oh
know what
no,
I'm
no, I
doing
mean I
here.
should. That sounds fun, but
Please.
no.
Oh, I got a song easy.
Okay,
Easy. That's the easiest part, Erin.
okay,
Easiest.
good. What
I
is
got
it?
it. What is it?
Yeah,
It's You Are My Sunshine.
perfect, perfect. And no one has picked that yet, so that will be on the
It is
Spotify.
a jam. You Are My Sunshine.
Yeah, that is a jam. You're so cute. Skyla, it is so wonderful to listen to you talk some more and the wisdom and loving all that you're doing for people and the way you see the world. So thank you for that light today. I feel so much better than I did before I talked to you. And I hope everybody listening does too.
It's just so awesome to be invited to share this time with you, Erin. I have missed your smile, your spirit, your presence so much, and this just made my day.
Well, know that as a teacher, so many of the things that you taught me, I carry with me and I think about them a lot. Um, just little things you would say and things like the singing bowls. You're the one that really first got me to play them. And I do sound meditations now, sound baths with people all the time. And it was you who first introduced me.
Aw, yay.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah.
I love hearing that. Yay. I mean, my whole yoga journey and my yoga experience and my intention with yoga is to ultimately share everything that has added to my joy, not necessarily made me happy, but all these things that add to my joy. I am excited and on fire to share it with everyone else because, I mean, it's all good. It's all good, right?
That's right. And I keep passing it on from you. It keeps going on. So
I love it.
everybody say, go look up Sankalpa Wellness and thank you, Skyla.
Thank you,
Mwah.
Erin. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.